Good morning and hello, everyone, in this fine Thursday morning. My name is Steve Young, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. Before we begin, just some very quick housekeeping. We do have plenty of questions of our own and plenty of questions here from the audience. However, if anyone does have any questions, do please drop them in the chat, and we will endeavor to get to them at some point throughout today's session. Today's event is titled How Leading Organizations Turn Spreadsheet Sprawl into Scalable Secure Applications. So we're all here today because we share a common problem. We use spreadsheets every day to power critical business processes despite the chaos that they can cause. Now, to help us unpack this today, I'm joined by Martin Strickland, CEO of the intelligent software development company, Clear Dynamics, and Jenny Wilson, Head of Technology Operations and Product, also for Clear Dynamics. Now, for those who don't know, Clear Dynamics was founded in 2012 with a simple mission to provide a better way to build enterprise software. Against this simple mission, Clear Dynamics developed their first low-code application platform and have since delivered circa 160 use cases. Now, in summary, Clear Dynamics builds secure, scalable enterprise software where off-the-shelf software is simply not a good fit, then provides that software to customers on a SaaS-based subscription model. So on that note, let's get into it, Martin. So let's start with this. Spreadsheets. What's the problem?
Yeah, Steve. Hey, thanks very much, and good morning to everyone, and thanks for joining. Yeah, Steve, we've talked about this before. The use of spreadsheets, it's one of the world's and business's biggest paradoxes. We live in this world of AI, cloud computing, instant everything, and so much of our critical financial information, our modeling, our regulatory reports, our operational workflows are still running on, you guessed it, spreadsheets. Studies
Mm,
show that even in 2025, this modern era, 90% of organizations are using spreadsheets in some shape or form in the business. In many
mm,
cases, they're exactly the right tool for the job to be done. For example, I want to build a simple pricing model to support pricing. But the problem is, as these spreadsheets grow in size, become more complex and integrate themselves into critical processes and databases, the benefit of flexibility and agility begins to be outweighed by the risks.
yeah, sure. So look, you must talk a lot to a lot of clients about their environment, right? So what is it that worries them with spreadsheets? Maybe I pose that one to Jenny, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, as Martin says, almost all our clients started small,
Mm,
addressing quite a distinct problem, but the ball kind of spirals. And so our clients come to a point where they realize they're spending more time checking the work than doing the work or obtaining the insight, moving data back and forth, managing multiple versions. And so you get to the point where you've got unproductive process, but also you're failing that single source of truth when it comes to the right data to rely on. So,
mm,
there's typically a trigger that will alert the client to, the ball's rolled too far. There's obvious risks, error rates. There's some recent research that shows more than 80% of the spreadsheets existing in an organization have errors in them. So there's the error issue that translates into data integrity issues. There's obviously the security issue of Excel spreadsheets being emailed, data's in the hands of who knows who at any point in time. So there's some of the typical risks. There's the compliance lens. CPS 230 is a good example of that, where an entity is meant to effectively manage their operational risks, including being able to maintain critical operations even in a disruption. And spreadsheets just aren't catering to that type of compliance requirement.
Mm.
And we're seeing more and more now in the era of AI. Spreadsheets represent blind spots of data in an organization. So take the example Martin called out around a pricing model. It might seem okay today to use a spreadsheet for that, but if you want to start to do predictive pricing or agentic-based recommendations around pricing, and that's sitting in a blind spot in a spreadsheet, you've just limited your ability to really leverage the power of that AI capability. So spreadsheets are just they're just not up to scratch when we're moving into that AI era. And probably the last thing I would say, Steve, is that we've talked to many clients who actually don't want to sit in the spreadsheet dilemma they're in, but the alternative pathway just isn't that obvious. The path to change just isn't that obvious for them.
Yeah. So let's just as a follow-up on that, 'cause it's quite interesting. So I just want to dive a little bit deeper, if I may, Jenny. So so why are spreadsheets used so much? And because environments where there's ERPs, for example, CRMs, and other off-the-shelf systems existing. So why do you think that is?
Yeah. Look, generally, there are two things that tend to come to the surface in most of our conversations. The first is just around
Mm,
flexibility and speed. So there's real benefits in ERPs and off-the-shelf systems, but they will have a box that they work within.
mm,
And so clients will accept that, but rather than customize where it's falling short, Excel spreadsheets become the workaround. And then when the business changes, the ability to efficiently and easily change those ERPs that sit in the hands of vendor roadmaps is a little bit, it's limited, clients constricted. And so that struggle around flexibility and speed when you're working with an
mm,
off-the-shelf system often means, well, we'll do some workarounds and we'll use Excel as the tool for that. The other area is integration challenges. And a good example we'll often see is clients that are using Excel for complex reconciliations or complex pricing, where you need data from multiple data sources, multiple systems, and there's a challenge in getting the integration of those systems to work effectively. And so Excel effectively glues or fills the gap where integrations are just proving to be the barrier.
oh, yeah, okay. Yep, yep, yep. So what would be the business case for change, Martin?
Yeah, it's a really good question because change in a business, it used to be that I could have a good idea, I could step in, I could ch change it. But today it's absolutely fair and reasonable that there needs to be a business case of some sort, particularly the complex end, which is where we operate. And that business case, just listening to the stories that have already been said, really talk about costs. I can probably get some FTE productivity gains in being able to replace Excel spreadsheets or spreadsheets with scalable, secure enterprise locker. Often it's incremental though, so it's hard to identify. So what I would be doing is thinking about the really complex things that are mission critical. They're the ones that will make the most difference for you. Risk, we've talked a little bit about. There's a great case where there's been some major issues in the UK. I think it was called the whale case, where a major international bank created a real problem through some fat thumb sources and cost them a lot of money. So a problem with risk, though, is you don't really know about it until it goes wrong. But the two that we see and we're beginning to see a lot is both strategic and revenue leakage. Revenue leakage because, particularly in spreadsheets, they're in your core critical process that they might be involved in the activity of paying customers, paying suppliers, potentially even thinking through what your pricing might be. We've talked about that. And revenue leakage is very real, hard to quantify, but it's very real. And then strategic. It's too often that a spreadsheet is actually a constraint on growth. It might be that one piece that isn't allowing you to enter a new market, provide pricing to a new customer. Uh, not preparing you for the AI world. So how can you compete if you can't play in the AI world space? So here's some stats. Yeah, most mid-sized companies have 1,000 to 5,000 spreadsheets. Circa 70% of those are in critical business processes. They're the ones to watch. There's lots of labor being used, and most importantly, the new trend of our time is their constraining abilities, a business's ability to be able to prepare and make the use of what is the trend in our time, which is AI.
Yeah. Yeah, those numbers are quite frightening. A good eye opener. They're looking at if these are the issues, what are the possible solutions? Maybe Jenny for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there is the option of not doing anything, status quo, but
Yeah.
increasingly our customers know that's not really a viable option, particularly where business critical processes are at stake. There's the option of what I call siloed remediation. So take, for example, a business unit, the spreadsheet gets used in quite a contained, controlled team. And they might opt for something like a Power Apps would be a good example to systematize that. It's a good solution for very discrete use, but once you start hitting more business critical processes, this approach gets difficult. So complex integrations, or where you know integrations are going to be required, where the logic gets more complex, particularly around things like pricing or complex reconciliations, where it needs to navigate across multiple business units. And so you have a workflow challenge and an auditability challenge and a transparency challenge around how data is being managed across the organization. That's where that siloed remediation approach starts to just fall short. Uh,
Mm,
and this is then, I guess, where we're stepping in and the approach that we're helping our customers with. So where you do have those more critical business processes, we are leveraging the low-code platform AOS that was referenced at the start of the call to solve for those two reasons I described to you earlier, Steve, those
mm,
flexibility and speed issue and the integration issue. So on flexibility and speed, we're using the platform. It takes a significant percentage of human effort out of what it would typically take to translate a spreadsheet to a working application. So we have an
yeah.
efficient pathway to make that translation happen.
Mm,
And it's also efficient because we have a very agnostic approach to the underlying data structure. So in simple terms, we adopt the data structure of the organization. We don't fight against it, which is sometimes the challenges you'll get in some of the larger process-driven approaches, as opposed to a data-driven approach, which is the approach we take with our platform. So we're able to make that translation efficient because we have a very flexible platform that caters. There is no square peg, round hole. There's only round hole, round hole. And then from an integration perspective, we overcome this barrier with a highly flexible, adaptable integration capability. Again, we bend to the architecture of the organization. So however we need to adapt from an integration perspective, we do. We can stand up an integration gateway within an hour that fits the customer's unique API schema. But sometimes we've also had to step into on-prem and more challenging, more legacy integrations, and we've catered for that as well. So we take away that risk and that burden where often integrations can seem too challenging, too burdensome, and make that a feasible pathway. So the outcome is an enterprise-grade application with the governance you would expect, all of the security standards you would expect, but also this flexibility to make changes as you need with the improved data integrity, staff productivity, all of those benefits that you'd be hoping to achieve.
Yeah, nice. Some good. Yeah, that was quite well articulated. Thank you for that, Jenny. Just as a maybe as a follow-up, can you give the audience today some examples, some clear dynamic examples?
Yeah, we're working with a major trading organization who historically had managed those trades through Excel spreadsheets, each trader operating their own pricing logic and intuition.
Mm,
And they knew that wasn't the solution they wanted. That was obvious to them. But in this case, it was those integration challenges that were holding them back. there were multiple systems that held important snippets of data that
Yeah.
informed pricing decisions. So that was the barrier we solved for them. We were able to affect some pretty complex integrations, some of it on-prem, some of it in cloud. And then we were able to translate that Excel experience into a secure modern application, which is now what they use to run their trading and pricing. Another good example, and in fact, we have a number of clients who have been in this scenario. You might call it an originations process or pre-sales, if you like. And we've had a number of customers that are using spreadsheets and other manual steps because that pre-sales is often quite iterative, quite back and forth, and ERPs tend to not cope that well in that environment. So we had a banking customer, complex business loans, and we were able to translate that into a fully automated or 80% automated experience, which got them from a 3-week to a 3-day time to yes. And similarly in the energy sector,
Yeah.
some pretty complex quoting, particularly imagine industrial, multi-site, multi-state,
Yeah.
bespoke quotation processes. Again, we were able to cater to that complex logic, digitize that process, and they now run that as an automated quoting process. We integrate then to their core billing system to be able to hand off a successful contract or a successful win. And that's been a game changer for them, particularly because they work mainly through broker channels, and obviously time to yes for a broker is gold.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some wonderful examples there. Great. Thanks, Jenny. Look, let me switch to Martin. Martin, so in your experience, where is it where is it best to start on a journey of spreadsheet migration?
Yeah, I think that's a great story, and thanks, Jenny. There's some super examples. We've got lots, 160 use cases across a number of industries, and where we think back to that group of use cases, but also some of the things we've talked about today. Uh, Lots of spreadsheets are being used. 70% are being used on business critical items. Often there's a large FTE cost involved. It may be
Mm,
constraining your ability to be able to grow. It may actually be constraining your ability to be able to set the business on a path to benefiting from AI. There's some of the dimensions that one should start thinking about. Ultimately goes to risk and value. So the question is, where should you start? Start thinking about risk and value. There's a really easy way to start. If you want to go simple, most people have got Microsoft Stack. They can do something with Microsoft Apps. If you're really looking at something a little bit more complex, where there's probably more value, more risk, you should absolutely be thinking about someone like us. So that is a horses for courses situation, a grain trading platform, a complex originations platform, perhaps even uh, augmenting your core ERP with key manufacturing capability at the complex end. And so that's a horses for courses argument. But then, of course, it starts with starting. And we're very happy to take a little bit of data and show you what we can do.
so how if we wanted to get in touch?
Mm. It's a
Yeah.
great It's a great question. Yeah, we're not just Clear Dynamics. I think we'll just see us ourselves. Certainly get in touch with ourselves, Jenny or myself or anyone in the Clear Dynamics team. Uh, but we also have a couple of fantastic partners that we work with very closely. You'll see them at the bottom there. TBF Digital. I'm in their offices today in Canberra, and I'll be meeting the Synergy Group folk again later today. They're also in Canberra, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Two fantastic consultancies who we work really closely with in primarily government, but also private sector. SPP down in Melbourne, Telstra Purple, Avocado, a fantastic partner of ours out of Sydney and Melbourne, a very specialist niche, but high quality consulting business, and then 460 Degrees, who are also down in Melbourne. So reach out to us, reach out to our partners, and have a talk to us about either what we can show you, not tell you, or take us up on an offer to do a free audit across your Excel spreadsheet landscape.
Nice, nice. Well, that was very, very insightful, Jenny. Martin, I really want to just thank you for your time today. It's been wonderful. I want to thank everyone who's on here today, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this session. We're going to be running more of these, next year. We will, over the course of the next week or so, or prior to Christmas. We'll reach out to everyone personally just to thank them for taking the time to join us today, gather their insights or feedback from today. And at that stage, if you do want to set up a time, have a chat to Martin or Jenny, if not this side of Christmas, maybe in the new year after the holidays, we can get that scheduled in during that call. But on that fine note, I want to wish Jenny, Martin, and everyone who's here today a wonderful remainder of your fine Thursday. Thank you and goodbye.